And you know, it was all fun and games. Shout out to Kevin Hart, because, you know, he a comedian. But Fab ain't no comedian. My homie saved his life when he was in L.A. His life was threatened by my other dudes, and my other homie saved his life. So how dare you even speak disrespectful to me? You know what I'm saying? And that's just what it was. So when I seen him, I was with Floyd and 50, and he tried to say, don't touch me, and I touched that nigga.
William Ray Norwood Jr., better known as Ray J, born January 17, 1981. Today's feature has been in the news recently for what seems like all the wrong reasons. In fact, for most of the last decade, a narrative has been painted about him that, while kept his name alive beyond music, stained his reputation out of it. Of course, I'm referring to the latest news between he and the Kardashian/Jenner family, mainly Kim Kardashian, accusing him of acts while together that make him out to seem nothing more than a creep, sexual deviant, and a closeted weirdo in his private life. It's also a huge defamation of his character that could possibly blackball him even further in the music industry and in business, seeing as the latest rumors of him extorting Kim Kardashian and Kanye West for a second sex tape he allegedly had of he and his former girlfriend Kim K, threatening to release it if he isn't paid a certain amount of money, isn't at all flattering. Supposedly, he and Kanye West met at LAX and spoke for 4 hours about the situation, with Ray J claiming there was never a second sex tape and all he had from the past relationship were a few photos and some text messages he and Kim K shared on a laptop. Kanye sat on the floor and viewed the evidence as Ray J assured him, but as Ray J now claims, everything he said really went in one ear and out the other with Kanye. Of course, we then saw the viral episode of The Kardashians where Kim was seen crying profusely, like the sex tape situation has done nothing but hurt her personally, and the thought there may be a second one could do even more damage, and that she was thankful that Kanye got the remaining evidence back for her from Ray J, who planned to damage her even further by putting them out. But according to Ray J, this and everything else Kim has been saying is all a lie to sell the family business once again. According to him, Kris Jenner, Kim's mom, was the one who released the first tape that blew the family up in the first place in 2007 and turned them into billionaires off the back of Ray J, who received a small portion of the proceeds and alleged $10 million to keep quiet about its source, which he has done for 15 years now. In those 15 years, Ray J has been able to release one single album and really hasn't been a face in music for the music, which could be the effects of the negative publicity he's gotten over the years and the narrative that's been painted of him by the Kardashians that he took advantage of Kim and is now extorting her with threats of another release. An argument can be made that this situation has hurt Ray J's career in the end, even though it made him seem like one who profited in the beginning monetarily and popularity-wise. He's threatening to sue the Kardashians if they don't back off their claims. A convoluted chatty-patty situation that gets weirder by the sentence, but let's discuss it and how it may have ruined Ray J in all sorts of ways. Let's talk about it. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music. Let's get it, man. Take a minute to like, subscribe, and comment on who I should do next. Ray J, since a child star, has always been known as sort of the side guy to a female superstar coming up, known as multi-platinum artist Brandy's brother in the music industry, and on the hit show Moesha, in which he played Dorian aka D-Money. Brandy was one of the brightest stars in entertainment from the mid-90s to the mid-2000s, with her first album selling 6 million copies worldwide, and her second and most successful album selling 16 million in total and over 5 million just in the US. These were big shoes for Ray J to fill as Brandy's little brother, and he finally stepped out of those shoes on his first album, although wasn't at all the success as Sister Brandy. In fact, Ray J would never see anything close to what the legendary songstress had, but managed to carve out a career for himself, beginning with album 2 behind the hit song One Wish in 2005 that peaked at 11 on Billboard, his first single to go top 20. Ray J was finally stepping out, especially after album 3 that became his best-selling album that had his most successful single to date, Sexy Can I. He and Kim Kardashian's sex tape had released a year earlier, which is what catapulted his career, but in the end placed a ceiling on Ray J musically and in television. Stunt number 1, not capitalizing off the sex tape enough. If we're speaking on Ray J, the musician, and him having more success in that field, we have to say that musically he could have done more to capitalize on the popularity of the 2007 sex tape, especially after seeing what it did with his 2008 album, All I Feel. Number 1 on the Billboard R&B charts and number 7 on the Billboard Top 200, later going gold. It also opened the doors for featured singles like the platinum Tie Me Down with the New Boys. After the sex tape dropped, I could still remember the feel around it, as Ray J came out looking pretty good in those times where, for a male, a sex tape could either make or break your career, and you personally if the women didn't approve. Let's just say the females did approve, and they all wanted a piece of Ray J, literally, and were at least tuned in to see what he did from there. In the beginning, he was doing the right things. He dropped an album the next year in the perfect time where the tape had a year to do its thing and time for anticipation to build for his next moves, leading to a highly viewed and listened to album, even though critically it received harsh reviews, with publications calling it trash basically, saying Ray J tried too hard to leave an impression but failed. To others saying it sounded like Ray J tried too hard to prove he was all grown up and it came off like a wannabe rapper in singer's clothes. Harsh words, but the world was watching. He then hopped in his reality TV bag and had initial success with For the Love of Ray J, which to me was the last reality TV show I watched and thoroughly enjoyed. But it only lasted 2 seasons, all in 2009, with only a reunion show in 2010, when he should have easily milked networks for 5 seasons or even more, like the Kardashians did and are still doing to this day. Besides that, another 3 albums should have also followed from 2009 to about mid-2010s, maybe even based around the show Keeping Up with the Kardashians, as a play on how each season may have affected him and his new relationships, or how the sex tape affected life after every step of the way. Keeping Up with Ray J, Season 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Speaking from a male's perspective on how things like sex tape affects us opposed to what it does for the female. Business-wise, I'm sure Ray J is good with all the endeavors he's been involved with, and he was reportedly paid nicely off the sex tape itself, but more could have been done around the music. Instead, he just kinda played the background for the better part of almost 15 years since the sex tape's release. Stunt number 2, a fabulous piano player.
When you want to disrespect me and the money team, and we got 7 Rolls Royces outside, and we just made 350 racks on the... Don't disrespect me. I'ma smack you up again.
The second growth stunt for Ray J came at an inopportune time in 2011, where the hype of the sex tape was in the balance, but it still seemed fans wanted to hear and see what would be next from Kim Kardashian's co-star. In September 2011, Fabulous released a tweet clowning Ray J about his piano playing skills at Floyd Mayweather's house, as to make a joke really about what Floyd said about having a concert in his living room. Then the camera pans to Ray J singing his hit One Wish. It was funny and not supposed to be taken seriously. Ray J didn't see the joke and called in to the Breakfast Club going off on Fabulous, claiming he smacked him in Vegas and would do it again. Fabulous joked off the situation, and later Ray J apologized for his actions. This hurt Ray J's image because it made him look anything but the tough guy he wanted it to, as he even says he dealt with depression thereafter over it, which may have been why no new music released after, as fans lost interest in Ray J more and more as the years went by. Stunt number 3, never actually a star. Musically, I think the problem with Ray J is that he was never really a star. Yes, expectations for him to be as Brandy's little brother forced him to jump in those shoes, and also with the popularity he gained from the sex tape, made it to where we all expected much more from him as a musician and even as an actor, but his catalog outside of him playing himself isn't that impressive compared to the space he could have held down. Not saying he hasn't done well for himself, because I'm sure he has, especially with the ventures into technologies he's been involved in and cameos he's secured on screen. But I still feel as popular as he became at one point in music and movies, Ray J should have been a bigger star. But talent-wise, he just wasn't that good. Sure, he had some songs that were auto-tuned into hits, but singing capability and musical influence, we can all agree there wasn't much there. All in all, Ray J is still a success, let's not get it wrong, and he is being done wrong with the whole Kardashian debacle, with his name being dragged, which is putting his ability to further do business at stake. But in entertainment, I for one expected Ray J to have had a lot more success in this era, where popularity can achieve anything. Just look at the Kardashians. No talent whatsoever other than to lie on and ride the backs of black men, and yet housewives can't get enough of them. Ray J should have a lot more influence in the culture today, but for these reasons, his growth was stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.